Welcome back to another episode of Breaking the Line. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Taking a deep dive into the arts of mime and acting. Cut that out. Taking a deep dive into the arts of mime and acting, and I am excited for this episode because we're about to get to the bummer territory.
Yep. We are today doing a very special episode. We are doing our personal bottom
five.
Yeah, our
bottom five.
Bottom five mimes. So these are what we, in our opinions, the overall worst songs. Mm-hmm. Now we've given some caveats to it to make sure that we understand it, which we'll get into. And we want to state that the purpose is not to be mean to people who choreograph.
Right.
This
is not trying to be, clickbaity to be like, here's the worst things that ever existed or anything. It's trying to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. No, and it's to be constructive.
Oh yeah,
so that way people who are learning to choreograph songs will look at these songs and go, okay, I see where this song failed. I see where this song was lazy. I see where whatever. And you learn from the negatives so that way you don't do them. So then, and we've talked about positive songs in the past. Mm-hmm. Those are what you emulate. So we have both the positives and the negatives. These are to help bring people up, not to break people down.
Right. It's just highlighting the things that we'd say, this is what we look at where we're like, not a good song. Here's why. And trying to get better choreography from these things. Maybe eventually we'll do top 5 mimes, but it's a little less interesting in some ways. Mm-hmm. We'll get there eventually. But this helps us also to cover songs that are maybe unique that we haven't covered. Maybe we have. We'll see. Because we don't know.
Yeah, we haven't communicated with each other, which is our bottom 5. So.
Right. So we'll get through the list eventually and get mad at each other for all that.
Exactly. All right. So the parameters, we have basically 5 things that we kind of wanted to go through. First of all, we banned assigned songs.
Yeah. Sign language songs. It's like, what are we going to critique?
It's like a different beast entirely. We could probably go through and like look at the 5 worst signed songs and the reasons why we thought of that, but that feels incorrect for what we're trying to do. We're trying to focus on the mimes. And so we banned all signed songs. And also mime songs that are like 90% signed as well, we also banned those. So there's some of them that have like a smidgen of choreography and then there's just signing throughout. We also banned those. So in case you're wondering, those 2, getting out of here.
Right. Those are bad for other reasons. And there's a lot of those, sadly. Yeah. So we, rather than covering the same topic over and over again, we figured, if you're going to use sign language, do it well, do it creatively. We'll cover that in a future video too.
Yep. And then third is purely dance or flag songs. So these are ones that, like, granted, I probably wouldn't put a bunch of, like, most flag songs would not be at the bottom. And honestly, most dance songs probably wouldn't be at the bottom. But we banned those outright for the sake of consistency. Yeah. The ones that are just meant to be dancing.
It's a different thing altogether. Mm-hmm. We're trying to critique the idea of mime songs and the choreography that tells a story that's unique to the art of mime, not these other art forms.
Yep. Fourth, we have banned songs that are designed specifically for children. So a lot of the reason is because like the simpler choreographies are very good for children.
Right.
There were a couple of them. There were a couple of songs that were children's songs that were in my, considerations that I ended up removing because of this ban. And that's simply because the audience that it's designed for, it's supposed to be simpler. It's supposed to not
in
be
the future we'll do like children's song November or something, like some theme. It's funny that a lot of the songs that we initially choreographed, because I started when I was 8 years old, and so a lot of the songs we did were kids songs and I loved it. But at the same time I think back and like there's no need for a junior team to only do kids songs. They can do the older songs too, and it's probably better that way because it's not songs that are just unique to them. But I'll to say they're banned. We're not talking about them.
And then finally, we are considering the songs in their most recent version. That is like, for example, Give Me Your Eyes. The original Give Me Your Eyes is like mid-tier. But the current iteration of Give Me Your Eyes, which granted maybe isn't all that different, but it has a lot of detail things and a lot of emphases that are way better. So I would, instead of judging, well, it's this version of Give Me Your Eyes, it's the most recent version of whatever we're talking about. As far as our knowledge, at least, correct, is what we're judging it by.
Now, there are some that are completely different. 2 different teams choreographed to the same music, but they are completely different choreographies. Those would still be included in that list. Yeah. Or like when we re-choreographed I Will Follow Christ and making it to I'll Follow Christ, I would consider those 2 different
those
things.
Would be 2 different songs.
Right. So we're talking about, we're trying to give the song the best case that it can give.
Yes.
So that if it's actually bad, it's because it got dropped off and nobody ever wanted to use it again or whatever reason. Like, we want to give it the best chance possible for not being in our bottom 5.
Exactly.
And with all that today, we're not like objective or know-it-alls or anything. Yes, we have a lot of experience. Yes, we like doing this podcast, but we're not trying to pretend like we're better. In fact, some of Charleton's songs made it onto my bottom list at some point. It's not, I don't think, I can't remember. It's currently.
Mine were too. My own songs.
None of my songs, of course.
I put Fight Inside as my number one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, most of the ones that I would say are bad choreography just never made it to videos. So that's OP in that sense, but that's a different issue. Mm-hmm. But shall we get into this list?
Let's do this.
All right. So number 5.
Well, wait, we were going to start with our...
Oh, yes. So before we start into our bottom 5, just a few dishonorable mentions. Just different reasons they didn't work for at least my bottom 5. I don't know what you have, but one for me is Christmas Shoes. It's not that it's a bad mime song. It's pretty decent. It's a lot of sign language. It's just a bad Christmas song. It's like, who wants to listen to this during Christmas time? It's supposed to be happy and merry, and maybe there's a place for this in your personal home lineup. We've just found that presenting it on the street publicly, people leave, and it's a downer, and nobody wants to watch it. So it's at least 5 just because it's a bad Christmas song.
Yeah, no, I get like... I'm so cross with that song because like I like the song. I think
nothing to do with choreography. It's just
such an interesting music. Yeah, like it gets a very different perspective to kind of like pull you back in and be like, what is Christmas really about?
Right. Good message there.
That's
I just don't want to hear about dead mothers.
Yeah, but because of the nature of the song, the music, the mime song drags on really hard.
Yes.
So it's not the type of stuff that you would want to do for a public presentation.
Right.
Maybe you do it for a church just to be like really edgy or something.
There's a place for it probably, but it just had to be in my dishonorable mentions because it's also just a bad Christmas song. And then the other one I would put in there is Devil is Bad. Didn't make my least 5, but it has a couple of issues of like the repetition, but it's mostly the song itself. Like if it had a different unique story in number 3, I probably wouldn't put it as my dishonorable mention here, but it falls into some similar categories as like Washed in the Blood or Secret Ambition, Love Me Good, All I Want for Christmas. Like it's a lot of sign to song and not very interesting.
Yeah,
but
and
didn't make my bottom 5, but it's down there.
No, I can understand why that's a dishonorable mention because like that did make my list. But what's funny is like that was a song I really enjoyed when I was first doing mime because it was like big, upbeat, lots of dance. But the message is just trash.
Yeah.
And like you walk away with it going, okay, so the devil is bad.
I don't think we needed to prove that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was kind of a pre-assumed supposition here. You know?
Yeah, it would be like one of those opener type songs.
Oh, it's silly and fun.
It's silly and fun, and that's about it. And it accomplishes basically nothing.
Very little, yes.
So I can understand that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that introduction. So today we're going to talk about how the devil is bad. No, that's
like, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right,
for me, I had a whole list of dishonorables and mentions, but I decided to just whittle it down to one, and that one is Show You Love by Jackie Velasquez.
Oh, yes.
There were several songs that fell under the this song is cringe territory, and actually several of them did make it to my bottom 5, in case you're wondering. And Show You Love, like, it has such a good message of, like, you know, the way that you try to proclaim Jesus isn't by, throwing the message of Jesus into people's face. It's by showing them love. And like, that's such a great idea. The choreography is so bad and it just completely misses that, like, in every possible way. So
no.
I put that one as my dishonorable mention.
Yep. All right. So now we should get into the list.
Now,
number 5. Okay. Remember, we haven't told each other what we have. So let's see what we have for number 5. All right. My first one is Cry Out to Jesus.
That's actually really surprising.
So this is the version that I learned back in Kansas, 2008. Roll film here. I'm in it. I'm Jesus. And I remember watching it, and my main reasons are 2. It has the problem of being signed to song. So, like, when the guy is, an alcoholic, and it says, like, the chains, and, like, he just shows chains. And so everything just has, like, this mediocre emphasis on choreography where it doesn't, like, do something with it. It's like a lot of frozen scenes that are just separate. And the other one is when they literally say the whole world comes down on you. They show the world and they show it coming down on somebody. It's tacky. It doesn't make me be like, that's meaningful and impactful. It's a lot of filler signer as well. So like they have a person who does all the signs, but you could take them out and it probably wouldn't make a difference for me. Follows second act blues. Classic. Where it doesn't progress other than just telling more stories. In fact, one or two of the stories, like after Jesus is starting to die, like it talks about all the children around the world. It's like, doesn't do anything with that. It's just Jesus. So like it kind of breaks from its own mold. The cross is like a very cheesy resolution. Like, I believe in the power of the cross and how it changes our lives and how we crowd to Jesus and he saves us. You can't just be like, and slap Jesus on it, and now you're good. Like, it just feels...
What is this, PB&J?
I know, right? It doesn't have a meaningful reason of why the cross makes a difference in all of these situations. It just says, Jesus is it, and without telling you that. And then, yeah, how I would fix it, I would say... so just as some resolutions, again, keeping this positive, we've talked about all the reasons I don't like it, but I'd say how I would fix it. Well, it actually inspired me to write a different one, roll film on that one, where that song wasn't my favorite variation of it, but at least tried to follow some of those same ideas where it's almost a little bit of the everything skit, but put to this music. And while it has that trope, I feel like answers a little bit more of the question of how Jesus saves us from those things. It has some redeemable aspects too. Yes, the cross is the answer, and you can show the contrast of people who wouldn't cry out to Jesus and those who do. Maybe some level of not everyone has to get saved trope, but some people cry out to Jesus and you see the resolution of their lives, and some people don't, and the consequences, I don't know, could be redeemed. Probably won't.
Yeah, and it's actually really surprising, but now that you're mentioning it, it's a completely different version.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing that I think hits it for me, is like the version that I know of Cry Out to Jesus is night and day different from that version.
Oh, maybe it's not the most recent variation, but
yeah, and because of that, like the versions that I've seen, I've even been in a version at Mime Camp one year, like that was pretty meaningful and like it felt emotional. It felt like it had a lot of stuff. But what you're describing is probably a completely different song,
right?
Put to the same music.
I'd have to check. It might be that they fixed some of the choreography things, and so it's not that bad anymore. But I remember learning it and being like, yeah, I'm not going to take this song back to my team. But all right, number 5 for you.
Cool. So my number 5 is called "Let's Go" by Mark Schultz.
So this let's go to the great
Such
unknown. A good opportunity for a song.
Okay, so the reason that this one made my 5th is because it started out so strong.
No, it's a great on the people, right? Like,
yes, like,
oh man, it's so good.
It's got like the foundation and even like the first step into a really strong song.
Right. That set piece is really solid.
Yeah, and so like it's got this office scene where it's like, okay, so we want to show like the droning monotony of life and then encourage people to get out and go and preach the gospel.
Amen.
And then that happens in the first 30 seconds and the rest of the song is nonsense.
Where are we going?
And it just like people just start getting together and they just start walking around the stage, and there's like even this point where they kind of like grab arms with each other and like do this little walk and then like come on, and then they do a little walk and it's like
they do the Wizard of Oz thing. It's a trope.
Yeah, that I think that is what
they're doing, but it's like, what does the Wizard of Oz have to do with this?
It was just like so thrown together, completely incomprehensible.
To use a quote, it follows into the like ready, shoot, aim category of song choreography, where it's like they took a shot and there it went.
Yep, they were like they had an idea for a song and they threw it out there, and you know what? I respect that.
Totally respect that.
It's not a good song though. And
honestly, how would you redeem it though?
So for me, the way that I would redeem it, first of all, would be like complete overhaul. But
no, the beginning scene is totally fine.
Yeah, I would probably lean into what the beginning scene is trying to accomplish.
Right, until figure out what that story arc is supposed to be with that person, what the dilemma is in the second act.
And like it's got like the bones of a good idea because it tries to get other people in and say, let's go, but that's not well communicated.
Yeah.
What they should lean into is like different people in different scenarios being encouraged to preach the gospel.
Right, almost
in some kind of more direct way.
You could say like a join-in song, but not just immediately joining in, but seeing what the dilemmas of why is it that people don't want to go.
Exactly.
Because most people would be totally fine if it wasn't for the barriers, so maybe we have to address some of those difficulties of why people don't preach the gospel.
Brilliant. Love it.
Right?
Let's do that.
I probably wouldn't take it back at this point, mostly because the song is old, but that's if there was a similar song that wasn't quite so dated, I might use it because it could have a niche.
Yeah.
Number 4?
Number 4. Need to get one of those like cheesy graphics that it's like number 4.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, future Charleton, for doing that. Can you alter my voice?
I'll add some like deep reverb or something.
Exactly. Number 4. So my number 4 is Jesus Real Loud.
Oh my gosh. Is that one on my list? No, but it was real close. It was so close to my list. It was maybe number 6.
Roll film. So here's my reasons for why Jesus Real Loud is not that great of a song. Intrusive Thoughts should not be a Mime song.
Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful. That's perfect. You need to say nothing else. Let's move on.
Let me explain. Yes, this song is musically totally fine. Ray Boltz, go for it. Like, it's an interesting thought. Like, what if I were to do it? That's an intrusive thought. It would not benefit the gospel one lick because they would just make Christians look like insane people. Mm-hmm. We were just at a restaurant where someone's shouting randomly, and I'm like, that did not make me want to listen to them, but that just made them look crazy. So rather than saying Christians are crazy, we should maybe say, how would it be better share the gospel rather than loudly? Yes, I want to be boldly explaining the gospel to people. I don't want to be shy about it, and I do appreciate that. But you probably shouldn't just yell his name really loud and expect people to listen to you.
Yeah, there is power in the name of Jesus. But that's probably not how you proclaim it.
Yeah. It is a join-in song, which isn't inherently bad, but it makes no sense why people join in. So the person's been crazy in the elevator. That would not make me want to listen to them. And finally you get to this weird story of this old guy who wanted to yell, and he just, like, starts dancing funny. I don't know.
You like crack it. He cracks his back properly, and he starts dancing, and it's like,
It's funny, maybe, but it doesn't make any reason. Like, why did it... Like, you'd have to show me why this person being bold about the gospel made people want to listen to them. And that doesn't work. It also, I would probably just finish with saying, like, how does this help people actually know who Jesus actually is? There are a lot of people on the streets who say, you know, believe in Jesus or you're going to hell. And I don't care how much of it's true. It doesn't adequately proclaim the clarity of the gospel to people to meet them where they're at.
In fact, it turns people off often.
Right. I'm sure there are some people that have heard that, person and maybe come to faith. God is faithful, and I would say that's probably not what we're called to do. So how would I fix it? I think it is redeemable. I think there is some good opportunity to show, like, the characters. Like, there is lots of characterization in a song, and so as far as the mime goes, it's really cool in that aspect. I think you would probably need to show, again, a contrast where, like, why do some people join in? Why do some people not? How is it that maybe the person learns if I said Jesus real loud, it didn't work, but then when they shared the gospel privately to somebody or in a better manner, that it made a difference, like, or something.
Bring them into more of a one-on-one type conversation of, like, you said Jesus real loud, everybody is disgusted, but one person's maybe a little curious. Yeah. That could do something. Yeah. One thing I do like about this song, though, the only thing I like is that this is a really good song to teach. Because this is like
a lot of characterization.
Perfect for characterization. This is like if you have a group of new mimes who don't know anything about mime, this is a wonderful song to teach because you can teach them characterization. You can give them something to do. You got the old man, you got the boy with a lollipop and a dog, you got the woman who reads a newspaper, like whatever. You can throw those kinds of
back in the day with twins doing things together in unison. You could have lots of fun with tons of characters. They can make them up on their own. Yeah. For me, it falls into a similar dishonor of, like, happy dance or different drum, where the join in doesn't have a reason, and that's probably my biggest plot reason why I would make it number 4.
Cool. All right, for me, number 4 is "Where Were You." So this is a song.
Interesting.
This song almost got banned because it's so much sign language, but it's technically
I would still include it, but I wouldn't put it in my bottom 5. Go ahead, tell me why.
Because it's so disrespectful. That's why it's number 4 for me. This is the thing. If you didn't tell me that this was about 9/11, I wouldn't know. Like, if you watch the song without thinking about it being 9/11, you have no idea it's about 9/11.
Interesting.
And that is very disrespectful to me.
That is interesting. I would disagree, but I think the reason we stopped using it is because there is a generation gap. There's a director on our team who was not alive during 9/11. Okay. So why it fell off for us is because it wasn't relevant. Obviously, tragedy. I watched it. I was old enough to actually see it. Yeah. Totally, no disrespect to any of there. Yeah. But at the same time, like, the motto kind of afterward was like remembering or where were you? Like, that's what people said, and so you didn't need context of that. The reason it dropped off for me was just it aged out.
Yeah, no, I can understand the aging out part, but, like, watching the song, the choreography is just. It's not very good because it gives kind of an idea of, like, first of all, lots of sign language. Second of all, it's got, like, we'll say caricatures of random people. And the general idea is, of course, where were you when, the world stopped turning? that September day. That's what the lyrics say. And the idea is trying to get across, there were just regular people doing regular things.
Yeah.
But if you didn't tell me that this was about 9/11, especially like what you just said about it being a generational gap, imagine trying to do that today.
Oh, totally. That's why I wouldn't do it. Yeah.
People straight up wouldn't get it.
But I wouldn't say it's a bad mime song. It's just aged.
It is aged, but I'd also say it's a bad mime song. The choreography is really mediocre and disrespectful.
I would say it signed a song, but what I liked about it is that it didn't just have the same like static scenes. It changed where like the scenes happen over here. Like sometimes there were bigger scenes, sometimes there were lesser. There was like a group thing, and then there was two people.
Yeah, the way that the technique goes, it's fine.
Right. I also like the metaphor of like the clock ticking in the back when the people are swaying, or the world actually spinning with people. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And for me, what I loved when we still did a lot more patriotic songs with it is really the only one that touched on Jesus as the hope for America, and it made sense. It wasn't like a cheesy inlet of the gospel. It actually was like the answer for the hurting people from 9/11 is Jesus, and it made sense to me. Interesting.
And I'm also wondering,
age gap here.
Age gap. I was 7 when 9/11 happened. Just I was alive.
Where were you?
I was in Florida, actually. I think I was playing video games, probably.
I remember telling my mom that they're going to make a movie about this one day, and she's like, maybe not right away, though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Anything else you have?
So to redeem it, I would say make sure that they know it's about 9/11.
Right.
And some of the things that they had were pretty good. It's possible that the version that I saw, which was the latest version I had, might be a bit different from...
All right, well, we'll compare after this.
We'll have to compare. But the one that I saw, not very good.
That's fair.
And to redeem it, first of all, probably a bit less on the sign language.
Yeah, they don't need an interpreter the whole time.
Yeah, and because there's so much one-to-one of lyrics to mime, that needs to be kind of lessened, and then more of an emphasis on what the purpose was, not just where were you, but like why that matters.
Yeah.
Those would be some of the biggest things that
I'd almost want the ending to be the callback where the same people, because it kind of at the end is generic people with Jesus reaching out to them. If there's a way to reference all of the previous scenes and have Jesus be the answer for those people individually somehow, I think you have time for it.
I should also mention, I think one of the things that I would also add is that Jesus was kind of shoehorned in. That did feel
interesting,
really weird, because like there was all this talk about this tragedy that happened, which once again not alluded to exactly what it is, and then suddenly Jesus, and it's like oh, okay, so Jesus is the answer to whatever the question was.
Well, but it does say like I know Jesus and I talk to God, and so it felt like
that's in the lyrics, yeah, but like once again, I feel like if you're looking at the mime itself, you don't really get that.
Maybe I don't know.
So I don't know. That was how when I saw it, and I've looked at it and I've researched it and seen it a few times. And
objectively wrong about an opinion. No, that's why we didn't tell it. This is really interesting.
Yep.
All right, number 3. Okay. Oh man, Freedom Pentology.
Oh, that one made my list. In my not this list, but the sort of list.
Okay, so one. This doesn't need to be that long. Like it's the 13 minutes of the 5 songs. Mm-hmm. It's just too long, and it's a very confusing message. One, theologically, it kind of says that like America is God's chosen people, and that's kind of not true. Like it mixes a little too closely there, and there are some points that are good, right? If America lived properly, maybe God would bless us, but he's not an obligation to. He has not made a covenant with America. So theologically, it already has that. Plot just is deep because demons. Like that's just, it happens so often where it's just like, well, we need more evil. Throw demons in. And it doesn't add to the overall narrative.
So do you think that just Freedom and Restoration, which is just the 2 first songs of that,
I still wouldn't. I wouldn't take those.
I guess second and third, whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't take any of the pieces of it. That messes some theological points for me. So, and also there's random bits of unnecessary tension where the music was tense, so we had to throw some drama in there rather than like let's create a nice storyline about that we want to tell and how that makes sense. It just feels like they needed to make unnecessary drama to keep the 13 minutes going, and it doesn't add to the song. It just makes it longer and boring. Also, panic persecution. Like, I don't want... persecution is a real thing. It happens. It can happen to us. It feels like it gives the message of, like, you need to be scared that this is going to happen to you. And so you need to be ready because of it. And I don't like that emphasis. I want to be like real sober about it, but also you don't need to be scared about the end times or about what might come in the future. That doesn't seem to be the message of the gospel. Am I wrong?
You're very wrong.
Okay, cool. It falls into a similar category. I didn't list it, but I wanted to. Gifter. Again.
Gifter was so close to getting on my
Where
list.
is the storyline? Are they Adam and Eve? Are they representative of humanity? There's so much just because demons. And Spirit of America. Spirit of America is a little bit better, but it also has that same theological issue for me. So didn't include those, but similar dishonor.
Yeah, fair enough.
Number 3.
Cool. So my number 3, and you're going to be mad, is I Will Follow Christ. So this is a song that like might be one of the first songs I've ever learned, and it is garbage. And the reason why I say the same might not like, because he kind of likes this song. This song, the thing that is the criticism that I have given it so many times is it's walking for 3 minutes and then some signing. That's the entire song. The thing that, Samuel is going to say as he's like about to break down crying is that, it looks really cool. It's like a good, powerful message of these are some young people walking, following Christ. And it's like, that sounds like a secondary effect to what the song actually is. Because the point of the song is to, be following Christ. And the technique is walking, and you walk and point in different directions in the face. And the choreography is just atrocious, in my opinion, which is objectively correct.
So you're not wrong. It's definitely not least 5 for me, but it's definitely not top 5 either. I recognize there's a reason why we don't do it anymore. It's one of those things where it looks really cool. And so from an audience perspective, they're not as engaged with the mime. They're more engaged with the song, with the visual aid. And that makes a bad mime song. Like, it's a good overall experience. So like you could present it for that reason. And it is a cool effect watching people be in unison, doing the mime walk and passionately saying, I'll follow Christ. There's something moving to that I can't take away from the effect. People have asked us to do that song, and we learned it so that we could present it for them. So there's something to it. That's all I can say.
No, and
it's decent at teaching people the mime walk.
It is good for teaching people the mime walk. It's a very easy song to teach. Yep. You could teach a song in like 10 minutes with your eyes closed.
Probably.
But as far as like it goes for being an actual mime song, like looking at the list of all possible mime songs, this one makes my third bottom just due to the fact that anything is better.
I mean, I would love for...
Except for these other 2 songs that are on my list.
I'm surprised it's not number 1, because that's the one you always bring up.
It is the one I always bring up, but the next 2 are doozies.
Same. Number 2.
Number 2.
Camouflage.
That one, I banned that one because...
I was curious because it was on the dance side.
Yeah, it was.
But here's why I didn't ban it. The dance is, yes, the course, but there is a storyline. And so I have to say that it's not just a dance song, even though it is a dance join-in song. So roll film. What got me on this one is it falls into the issue of it was a popular song that people liked, and I loved listening to it. And I
liked the song.
Right. I loved learning it back in 2003. I was really excited about it. I look back at it now and be like, this is not a good choreographed song because it doesn't have a really reasonable story. Who is the bad guy? He's like a husband abuser. Like, it's very confusing of who he is. And then he like influences other people. It also misses the point of the metaphor. It has nothing to do with camouflage other than the fact they have camouflage scarves.
It's whatever.
Like the song is talking about like not being in the crowd and stepping out and being seen as a follower of Christ. Beautiful message. That's not present at all in the song. The metaphor is like completely ignored. Also, the resolution of the song is just stick Jesus into the cross scene and just
that was a thing on several songs that kind of irked me, was that Jesus just kind of boom, Jesus, he's on a cross. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, you can't just stick it in there. It has to be a meaningful progression of why he's the solution to the dilemma that you've created or shown. In addition to who is this bad guy, what happened to him? He was the bad guy, and then he joins in the chorus, or like maybe he went to 00 long enough to be a new person, but like I don't understand the resolution of what that drama was supposed to be about. It also has random technique of strings. Why did the person get strung up? Like, the technique's done beautifully, don't get me wrong, but why did they have to get tied up? There is no explanation for why they're tied up. Join in song, which we've talked about already. And then finally, just missed opportunities with lyrics. It talks about them being in a box, and they
didn't do the box. That's the thing. Like, when I first watched that and they didn't do a box on that, I was like, you have a perfect opportunity.
In the dance, to be fair, they have a cool technique where they like do some isolation in there, but it has nothing to do. They had a moment where they talked about stepping out of the box, and they didn't do the box.
You could have done so much with the box.
I love you, Apple Valley. Like, you guys, it's a cool dance song. I love the music, but what makes it so low for me was that it was good music that was choreographed just because it was good music, and that makes me sad. Yeah. It falls also to a similar dishonor of Shaken. I didn't put it in here, but like, Shaken's also not a good song, but it was a popular song, so it had to get choreographed.
It's popular. It's upbeat. Like, the choreography is super mediocre, but it's like it follows, like, I would say the same effect that you think for I Will Follow Christ is what I would say on Shaken. It looks cool. It's not a good choreography.
It's not a good song.
So,
all right. Yeah. Number two.
Oh, wait, no, we already did this.
Yeah, we already did this. You're number two, though.
So we've already talked about this song in a podcast.
Oh, I'm sick of it.
It's Love Me Good.
Yeah.
So this one is just really bad. Like, I fought to not
link down below for all these songs, but like that one, the podcast episode.
Yeah, we got a full podcast. This one, like, I debated, like, I was fighting so hard. I'm like, I don't want to put this one on my bottom 5. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And I just couldn't remove it. I could not remove it from my list because I had like a list of like 20 songs or something like that I had to go through in detail and watch and try to make sure that I like which one would be my bottom 5. And every time I came across it, I'm like, I just can't remove it. And here it is, number 2. So we've done a full podcast. I don't feel like I have to go into whole detail, but the biggest problems that it struggled from, that try not to do this in your own songs, is that it was a lyric to mime transition. Love Me Good is, as a song by Michael W. Smith, I listened to that song unironically. It's such a fantastic song.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Like, it's really upbeat. It's really good. But it's so coated in metaphor and figurative language that it's trying to communicate like what it feels like to be a Christian and to love God and for God to love you, that was attempted to take all of that metaphor and turn it into mime directly, which just didn't work. So you have
There's probably a place for it. It's too much.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It was just too much.
Yeah, because there's probably a way to make it where the metaphor then makes sense of what it was actually trying to say, but it's just all metaphor. Yeah. And then the Brady Bunch doesn't help it be.
Yeah, Brady Bunch thrown in.
Here's the story. You could probably sing it, right?
Of a man named Brady.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. I'm not going to... You can link down below for the Brady Bunch thing.
Link down below for a random remix of the Brady Bunch.
That used to be a thing. Like, I remember watching the Jay Leno show. I'm that old. Where they interviewed people and were like, can you sing the song? And like, the majority of people back then could actually sing the song still. And I wonder if that's still the case. It's memorable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
True. Anyway.
Yep. And then lastly, for Love Me Good would be the inclusion of Jesus. Yeah. Which it suffers from the thing that we've talked about already, where Jesus just kind of, boom, here's Jesus.
Problem solved.
Okay.
Pretend like nothing was here.
Yeah. So there's a whole list of things, but I'll leave it at that. Watch the podcast for a full in-depth description of my displeasure with that song.
I kind of like it. No. Number 1. Explosions. Thank you, Charleton. All right. You're going to not like me for this one. Keys to the Kingdom.
Really?
Yeah. No, I went through a lot of songs and I'm like, this one is my least favorite song. And initially I was like, it's fine. But then I looked at it more and I'm like, no, this is definitely, it falls into all of the problems that I've talked about the entire time. People are going to hate me for it, but it's a cool song with bad choreography. That doesn't make sense. All right. There's nothing about the keys to the kingdom. We have lots of scriptures that talk about giving Peter the keys and Jesus having the keys. Nothing to do with like what the key is and the answer to how it solves lives. It's pretty arbitrary to that degree. Random plot. Why did the Christians get demonized? Why did Jesus only save them? Like, he comes over and saves like 2 of them, but not the other person. I don't care how much you think about election. It makes no sense in the song. Why is the main crying as like the cross is there? Like, like they're like, now I'm gonna cry, and like it's the same trope of all like a lot of other songs where okay, now the main's gonna cry at Jesus' feet during the cross, and it looks beautiful, but it makes no sense because there's no plot development of why they actually come to that conclusion. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay. Why are the demons getting headaches? Like they're like, ah! Like, there's no sense of why Jesus is. I don't know. Did he like unlock their brains and so that just caused trauma to their mental psyche?
I'd like to point out that I'm just aghast at how passionate he is about this. Like,
and are any of the points I'm making not fair?
No, you are correct because like I have several criticisms about this song, but I wouldn't put it in my bottom 5. That's
There's a lot of filler. There's no plot development. The chorus is signed, which is always like fillery for me. Yeah. It's cool sign language. It's just filler. The second act blues, slow crucifixion for no reason, and repeated choruses over and over again. Theologically, because demons. Like,
okay, so
if you're gonna have demonology, you can't just say because demons they have problems.
It felt like in maybe like the 2010s, maybe somewhere in that area, there was just this influx and this passion for demon songs.
Well, because it's fun acting like a demon. Maybe it speaks to our inner nature. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
That people, when I ask who wants to be the demon, who wants to be the angel, nobody's like, I want to be the angel. Like it's fun being evil, pretending to be evil.
Yeah.
Speak to our human nature. Also, it's signed a song when there's this long period of time where they're waiting just to hit this cue of like never give up and grab them. It's the same problem I have with Whispers in the Dark. Again, another good song in some ways, except it's signed a song, or they need this epic picture of Jesus reaching towards them, and so there's no plot development of why that comes and why Jesus has to do that, and then why does Jesus get beat up by like punching and whatnot. It's not the crucifixion. It's a random cross scene. Demons don't beat up Jesus, and because Bible is the answer.
Because demons is the problem. Because Bible is the answer.
Yeah. It's pretty it misses all the marks for me, and it's extra bad because it's a good song musically. And it got choreographed because it's a good song, but with bad choreography. Same problems as Whisper in the Dark, Dare You to Move, Not Gonna Die, and Unbreakable. All other songs I would say, good songs musically, bad songs Mime, because it's not very good choreography. How would I fix it? Probably wouldn't. It's good music. And I would probably make it about making God's will done on earth or something like that with the keys to the kingdom. I'd actually make it about the song.
Yeah, make it about the keys to the kingdom. Now, like I have several criticisms about that song. Like the easy low pickings are the chorus are repeated. The chori, the choruses are all repeated, so they kind of loses points for me on that. The second act blues is real apparent on this one. And there's just a lot of weird plot stuff.
I also forgot to mention it's the weak Jesus problem. You know, I recognize theologically, like, he's God, you can't do anything. So I recognize and I give some artistic liberty to why is it that God doesn't just save everybody immediately? And so I recognize there's some theological things. But at the same time, he doesn't do it because he doesn't want to. He does it because he's weak. And that's a problem for me. It's a trope that happens in a lot of Mime songs.
Yeah, true.
All right, I'm done.
All right. Time for my number 1. You ready for this?
Number 1.
Fight Inside. No, I'm just kidding. Christian.
I don't remember this one off the top.
So this is Christian by Phillips, Craig, and Dean.
Oh, yes.
So this is the song that I would describe as immaculate cringe. So this song is all about like essentially being bold to proclaim that you're a Christian. And let me just tell you that the choreography for like the first half of the song is just this person like dancing in place. And it is absolute garbage. And like the resolution of him proclaiming to people is even like realistically portrayed, where other people are like, dude, what the heck are you doing? This is weird. And then finally it resolves at the very end of like everybody joining in and being like, I'm proud to be a Christian, and running into the audience being like, yeah, proclaiming to be a Christian. And it's like, there's no place that this song would ever be useful. The only time that you could use it would be in a Christian audience for Christians, and for it to be like done by a bunch of children or something like that too. So, you know, their parents' hearts swell.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be about it. And that is like, I probably wouldn't even do that.
Yeah.
And so this song has so little to redeem for it. And like, what could you possibly fix on it?
I wouldn't even say it's a good song to choreograph in the first place. Right. It's more worship songs, which we haven't talked about that as a trope, but like choreographing worship songs is not normally good for the process of art and mime and stage and theater. Like it's two different things.
Yeah. And so like choreographing this to be Christian, like I am so happy to be a Christian. Such a wonderful message that you can maybe listen to this on your own time. Proclaiming it in mime just feels
you'd have to add useless. Some like irony to it of like why the person wouldn't want to be a Christian.
Yeah, it would have to be overhauled so much that it would be completely different from this to the point where and
it's old enough that I wouldn't redeem it anyway. So,
so yeah, that would be my number one, and it only barely beat out "Love Me Good" because "Love Me Good" is just trash. But the only reason that it beat out "Love Me Good" was because the choreography could probably be taught in 5 minutes. I don't even know the song. I could probably teach it to you in 5 minutes. Like it's that garbage of a choreography, and I am just compassionately hateful for this song.
Okay, so these 10 songs we'll probably never do on our team ever.
We'll probably never do. We'll
see. Someone might ask us to do, I'll Follow Christ. If you want us to do I'll Follow Christ, we'll do the 2-man version of it because it makes just as much sense. We needed to practice our mime walk. If you disagree with us, which you probably did at some point, you're flabbergasted at our picks, just tell us down below what your, least favorite song is. If you've seen us, it's probably one of the ones that we've done. Coming up soon this month, so July is coming here. We have one song for 4th of July coming, patriotic song, and then the rest of July we're going to do songs that I've choreographed and songs that he's choreographed in August. So this will be fun because then we're going to talk about all of the ways that we've had bad choreography. So we'll talk about it as we go.
And in the comments, you can tell us why we picked July for him and August for me. See if you can figure that out. There was a reason. And also, in case you're wondering,
mash that like, subscribe.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, cool. Do that. I'm Samuel.
And I'm Charleton.
Breaking some lines.
So, the bottom 5 lines.
Bottom 5 lines. Breaking the lines. That'll be the thumbnail for this one. We need to update our thumbnails, by the way.
Probably, yeah.